This is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Elgato Key Light, a large diffused lighting system for streamers and content creators that's designed to work with Elgato's Stream Deck, obviously with a control center app via your phone and via desktop software as well. And this is an unboxing and review video. I'm going to be setting up the light and showing you what it's like. I'm also going to do a comparison in the near future with the Razer Chroma Key Light, so stick with me for that and subscribe if you aren't already. But I want to talk to you about why this light's useful and awesome in a number of different ways. Now, as you saw from that intro clip, it's desk mountable, and I'll show you the setup process for that. It comes with a nice stand that's very high extendable, and that's one of the big highlights of it. But also, obviously, more importantly, it's large. It offers diffused lighting with a maximum of 2,800 lumens, so it's really bright. It uses 160 premium OSRAM LEDs and has a temperature range of 2,900 to 7,000 Kelvin. Now, that's really important and useful to someone like me, where it's very useful to adjust the color temperature to match your camera, because you can then set that in your camera settings and make sure that you have a really natural looking light. And that's how I capture a lot of my footage, to make sure that all the lighting matches and it looks as natural and clean as possible. So it's really nice to see that functionality here, but more on that later on. As you'll see when you get out of the box, a very nice cardboard box with lots of recyclable materials inside, and then the key light itself. Now, I've been using the Key Light Airs for quite some time, and they're quite titchy, and I'll show you a comparison later on. The size difference, this thing is huge by comparison. Also, it has 4 mounting points, so you can mount it top, bottom, or either side, so you can have it either lengthways and landscape format, or portrait as well, depending on your space and how you want to set it up. Including in the box, you obviously get the various connectors, and there are a number of things for attaching the cables to the poles to neaten things up, and I'll show you more on that in a little while. A power brick for connecting it, because it does need mains power supply in order to run, and you need to connect it up to your Wi-Fi on your home network, and then that'll allow you to then control the lighting via the smartphone app or via the desktop app, or both. And I'll show you more on that. Obviously also works with Elgato Stream Deck software, so it's controllable there. But one of the big highlights for me is not only the size and power of the light and the flexibility of it, but also this desk mounting. So it has a really solid clamp system for easy mounting to your desk, and you can see a massive clamp on that. It also has 2 adjustable points that are really easy to adjust, so you can unscrew them and then adjust the height of this with ease. And I will show you that it goes very high later on. It's incredibly tall at its maximum height, which is really useful for ranging your lights in different positions. So you might have different uses for it. Like many streamers will want to use this as a key light for lighting up their face when they're playing and ensuring something like a green screen's lit up well. But this is also useful if, for example, you want to have top-down lighting in a small room for lighting a shot, like I would do for unboxing and review videos. So it makes for a really convenient lighting system for that, and that's worth keeping in mind, as this is multifunctional in a way. Also because it doesn't have a desk stand, and it just simply mounts onto the desk, rather than taking up extra space with some stand that you have to account for. So it's really convenient in terms of sort of space it will take up in your room. And also the setup process is really easy. So here you can see the power brick. This is obviously a UK plug, the best in the world, British plugs, nice and safe with the grounding to make sure you don't electrocute yourself. And then the cables necessary to connect it up. Really straightforward, plug and play basically, just plugging it in, and I'll show you that in a second. And then it attaches to the head, and you'll see there's a ball head in the top here, and as I said, you can mount it in different positions. Here you can see me putting it in on the landscape. Quite large, and certainly not subtle once you've got it installed on your desk and in the area. You can see it's quite a chunky beast, but this is good because it offers a lot of diffused light and actually lights up the space really well. And I'll obviously show you the lighting capabilities later on. And then at the rear, you just plug in your power, and you have the button to turn it on and reset it if necessary, to repair it with something else. One of the things that I did note when I screwed it on was that I managed to damage the rubber on top of the ball head mount, so just be careful when you do that, because it's a bit easy to destroy that, but it's only a little tiny bit of rubber. It's not that important, but just don't get over tightening it like I did. You can also mount it, as I said, in portrait mode, so you can have it like this instead, which is beneficial if you have less space but you still want to light up an area. Now off to the left hand side of my desk, I'm actually using the Key Light Chroma from Razer at the moment in a same sort of logic. So it's positioned like this and then really high up to light as a top down shot. But obviously, as I said, you would generally use it face on to you to light you up behind a camera, for example, so that you have good lighting on your face and it provides nice lighting. But what I wanted to demonstrate is one of the things that's most appealing about this to me is just the flexibility of it. So not only is it mounted on a solid desk stand where it's not going to fall off, it's well clamped on there, but it's also really easy to get into a position that's useful. So you can adjust it to the height that you want. It's fairly tall to start with, but you can adjust it. I mean, obviously my desk is at a certain height, but you can set it all the way to the ceiling basically. So in this room you can see it's much taller than I am, and ridiculously tall. In fact, because of that, you probably wouldn't want to do it at this height because it then does develop a little bit of a wobble, I'd say. So it's a bit wobbly, but I mean, that's obviously going to depend on how wobbly your desk is. The setup process from here is really straightforward as well, and that's one of the things I'll say about it is once it's set up and plugged in and connected to the Wi-Fi, as I'll show you in a second, it's really easy to then control it whenever you need to turn it on. You can just do it from the app or from your PC with ease. You don't need to turn it on and off constantly. There are a number of clips included in the box that you can attach the cables to on the pole to sort of tidy things up. I would recommend that when you're doing this, you make sure that you have it extended to the height that you want it at so that you can then get those clips on, because if you try put the clips on and then adjust the height, that then ruins where the clips are and messes up the cables and it becomes a problem. Turn it on, go into the app, which I'll link to in the description, and then you can just add a new accessory and you go through the steps, which I'm not going to show you here, but there's just a few steps to connect it to your Wi-Fi. Once that's connected up, you can then add the accessory in. You can see that I've already got Key Light Airs on here, and now I'm adding in the Key Light as well. One of the nice things that I like about Elgato software is that you can actually set them up so they all pair together. So when you adjust the lighting, you can actually adjust the brightness so all of them adjust to the same brightness and color temperature at the same time, or you can adjust them individually, and that's one of the things you'll have seen there. If I turn off all the other lighting in my room, apart from obviously the desk lights, you can see the effect of the Key Light and how bright and dark it goes. Now it's hard to demonstrate the sheer brightness of this, and I'm going to try and do it from various angles so that you can see it, but obviously it's coming across on a camera, so in real life it's a lot brighter than it might appear in some of these shots. I will also note it's important to update the firmware, because there was a couple of firmware updates to this basically as soon as I did it, and I had to install them from the desktop, so on my PC, so I'd recommend downloading that app and installing it there. But then on the phone you also get control over the brightness and the color temperature, so you can see you can basically go from a very blue color all the way up to a much warmer color at the other end. This is really useful because, as you'll see from the slider, can't quite see it because it's hidden behind my finger, but you can see the actual Kelvin readout in terms of the temperature you're using. So I'm using 5,500 on my camera, so it's set to 5,500 Kelvin to give me a natural representation. You can actually drag the slider along and set it to the specific color temperature you need, and you can do this on desktop as well. This is really handy for making sure your color matches up and you have a really good look and feel at the end video result and on live streams as well. And so here you can now see a front view of what it does and how it lights up my face. As I said, all the other lights in the room are off, so it's quite bright. You would generally be using other lights. I'd been using 2 Key Light Airs historically. I think this could be a sole light that you're using along with a room light. You could probably get away with that as a basic one because it is very bright and it is very big, so it does light up a big space. You might find you have to use more than one light depending on your situation, but this is certainly a nice looking solution, and it does, as you can see, go very bright and give off a good light into the room, and more importantly lights your face up nicely for video, and also would work really well with products. And here you can see it next to the Key Light Air, and you can see just the size difference of that. Also note that one comes with a stand rather than a desk lamp, so you do need space on your desk for that, and that's one of the reasons I like the main full-size Key Light, because it has the clamp which takes up less space. Now I want to demonstrate the lighting differences that the light can make. So I've got my desktop over there so you can see the controls, and I have no lights on in the room. There are windows in either direction so you can see natural daylight spilling onto my face as well, but I want to just demonstrate what difference the light can make even during this sort of bright lighting. So obviously go into Windows and you can access the Elgato lighting controls, and you can see it is on, but I've set it to minimum brightness. I'll just turn it off completely and you'll notice that makes no difference, maybe a tiny bit. And if I crank it all the way up, you'll immediately see just how much that fills up my face. Quite a bit of extra lighting in this sort of brightness, and then obviously turn it back down again. And just to demonstrate, turn it off again, I'm going to go and close the blinds and I'll be back in a second. So now here I am in again with natural light still, so there's no lights on, but I've got both blinds closed, so you can see there's still some daylight coming in. And I can then turn the light on and you'll notice immediately the difference it'll make if I crank it up. So now we're at 100%. It's overpowering the camera actually. It's far too bright. I think that's one of the good things I've found, is that I can run it, I mean, somewhere between 15 and 20% brightness at night. So generally speaking, at the weekends when I'm gaming and streaming, I'll have it about 20-ish%, maybe lower. I'll also have a light on above me just in the room, but that's not particularly bright. And this will be enough to light my face up, but also green screen that I generally have behind me. Now, I do also have Key Light Air off to the side there, but again, that's set to roughly the same. So a very small amount of basically the maximum brightness is required in order to light it up. Now, this is going to vary depending on your webcam. Obviously, I'm using a DSLR camera and Elgato's Cam Link device, and I've done a video on that separately if you're interested. But as I said already, you can adjust the color temperature, so you can see when you go through the range here, that actually tells you what color temperature you're at. So you can see if I put it all the way up to 2900, my face looks very orange now. If I turn that all the way up, I'll make it even worse. It absolutely looks terrible. My camera is set about 5500 Kelvin, so if I go to here, that is actually a more natural look of my face. And then obviously you can go the other way and make it very blue if you wanted to, so you have a good range of color temperatures and what you can do with it, but you can see just how bright it gets even during the day, but you really don't need that much brightness. Easy controls, and obviously this is also set up. You can set this up in Elgato Stream Deck software and on that hardware if you have it, so you can just press buttons to turn the lights on and off and adjust the brightness. And as I said already, you can set it, turn on the Key Light Air as well, and you can have both lights controlled via that one bit of software and doing the same lighting, and then you can just turn them both off from here as well. And you have that ability to do it on your phone too, so you don't even need to alt tab back out of your game into Windows or whatever you're doing. You can just do it from your phone or from the Stream Deck or from the software. So it's multi-controllable and really useful. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. Also come back and see that Razer Chroma versus video, because that's slightly different. That has RGB lighting. Do you really need RGB lighting on a key light? Come back and find out. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.